Hey everyone, welcome to today's explainer. So, if you've been feeling that creeping, overwhelming sense of doom lately, you know what I mean, right? Well, today we're going to analytically deconstruct exactly why you're feeling that way. We're using a really fascinating philosophical framework all about layer transitions. So if you've been wondering why it feels like everything is literally on the brink of collapse, well, you're not alone. And the wild part, there's a structural reason for it. Let's get into it.
Okay, first things first, let's just address the elephant in the room. Why does it feel like the world is ending? I mean, from climate doom scrolling late at night to this massive anxiety over AI taking over, our modern minds are just entirely obsessed with the idea of total collapse. But is this feeling actually new? Are we really the first generation to feel like the sky is falling? To answer that, we've got to peel back the layers of history a bit.
Section 1. The ancient symbol of catastrophe.
To really understand our modern dread, we've got to look at where the concept of catastrophe actually comes from. Our Western idea of the apocalypse, the end of the world, final judgment, it didn't start with modern science. According to the Encyclopedia Britannica, it was actually hammered out way back between 200 and 165 BCE. This was the era of the Second Temple, a time when people were living under this crushing imperial oppression, specifically Hellenistic rule right before the Maccabean Revolt. These were people who literally could not endure their reality for one more second. The whole concept of the end was born right out of that profound, deep crisis.
And what they did was brilliantly create a psychological coping mechanism, a specific formula for doom. It goes like this. Step 1, the current world is totally corrupt and unbearable. Step 2, a definitive, inescapable crisis finally arrives. And step 3, judgment passes and a radical new order is brought in. It's fascinating, right? Basically, whenever a societal layer fails to hold itself together, the people living in it imagine a total breakdown followed by a totally clean slate. And we've seen this exact same formula adapt over centuries, from ancient religious prophecies right up to modern tech utopianism.
Section 2. Is the crisis illusion or reality?
Now, you might be thinking, okay, so our modern dread is just this ancient myth repeating itself, right? It's all in our heads. Well, not exactly. The symbol of catastrophe is ancient, sure, but the physical danger triggering it today? Oh, it's very real. Take a look at this number. 1.1 degrees Celsius. The IPCC AR6 synthesis report absolutely confirms that human activity caused global surface temperatures to rise by exactly that much between 2011 and 2020. So yeah, the widespread risks to our global ecosystem, definitely no illusion.
And then, of course, we have the geopolitical layer. The SIPRI 2026 report reveals a pretty terrifying number. Over 12,000 nuclear warheads globally. 12,187 to be exact, as of January 2026, and nearly 10,000 of those are sitting in military stockpiles right now. Nuclear states are actively modernizing these forces, meaning the risk of a catastrophic miscalculation is objectively going up. This danger isn't some ancient myth, it's literally sitting in silos around the world.
And it doesn't stop there. When we look at the Stanford AI Index 2026, we uncover what we call the AI gap. It's this massive layer of instability. On one side, you've got the technology layer, AI capabilities, and it's hitting these rapid, massive tipping points. But on the other side, the subject layer, which is basically our human institutions for governance, ethics, and data infrastructure, is lagging way, way behind. The tech is just advancing so much faster than our human capacity to safely manage it.
Section 3. The true meaning of catastrophe.
So the systemic instability we're feeling across climate, geopolitics, and tech, it's absolutely real. But here's the core epiphany of our analysis today. A catastrophe is rarely the physical end of the entire planet. Nope. Instead, catastrophe is just the end of a subject form. It's a specific societal layer losing its grip on existence. When a system can no longer justify or preserve itself, we just kind of naturally imagine the birth of the next layer as the end of the world.
And this creates what our source material calls a symbolic reality. It's crucial not to separate the physical from the symbolic here. In our symbolic reality, the physical collapse hasn't actually wiped us out yet, but our minds are already actively processing the breakdown of these systems as a real, lived experience. This perfectly explains why so many of us feel the future entirely as anxiety. It's why people are hesitating to have kids, why our politics feels so incredibly apocalyptic, and why education is often treated just as a desperate survival tactic. Our brains are actively processing real systemic risk.
Because of this, you always have to ask one incredibly vital question. Whose catastrophe is it, anyway? Because what feels like the end of the world is usually just the end of one very specific way of life. For an agrarian society, a nomadic invasion was the apocalypse. For a medieval believer, the Black Death. For capitalism, catastrophe is literally just the end of economic growth. And for our current human-centric order, the idea of AI taking over meaning production feels like the ultimate end. It is completely relative to the layer you happen to exist in. So whether we're looking at a Marxist revolution imagining the end of capitalism, climate action fighting the end of our carbon civilization, or just deep anxiety over AI replacing us, the structural loop is exactly the same. The old system fails to preserve itself. We panic, feeling this deep crisis. We imagine a total cinematic collapse. And then finally, we demand a radical new subject or order to take its place.
Section 4. The Present of Overlapping Crises.
Which brings us to the big question. Why is this feeling of doom so incredibly loud right now in our specific historical moment? Well, it's because we aren't just facing one failing system. We're living through a polycrisis. We have a massive overlap of collapsing layers, all happening at once. The thermodynamic grounding of our carbon civilization is shaking. Nation-states are risking the entire biosphere with nukes. Capital is just absorbing our lives, our relationships, our education. AI is moving the production of meaning totally outside the human mind. Democracy is fracturing under platform algorithms and identity politics. Even our own personal subjectivity is in a crisis. We don't even know if our desires are actually our own anymore. So today's catastrophe doesn't feel like some single divine judgment. It literally feels like the simultaneous judgment of thermodynamics, capital, and data, all crashing down at once.
Section 5. How will we survive?
So let's talk about how we actually transition from all this pervasive anxiety into, well, survival. Our source material makes a really profound argument here. It points out that just clinging to the moral high ground, just complaining that capitalism is bad or AI is dangerous, is way too weak to stop a catastrophe. Those are just moral odds. To actually survive, we have to shift gears and actively build new, stronger probabilities of existence. We're talking about creating resilient life patterns, new education models, alternative energy structures, and deep community networks that are actually stronger than the systems that are currently failing us.
Because here's the kicker. If we fail to build those stronger alternative systems, the existing system will simply co-opt our panic. Capitalism will happily package up your climate anxiety and sell it right back to you as a $20 eco-friendly tote bag. Your existential dread? That's just going to become another piece of highly engaging content on your favorite app. The symbol of catastrophe literally just becomes more fuel for the exact same system that's causing it.
Ultimately, remember this. Catastrophe is just the old subject sensing its own end. All these multiple systems we rely on are heavily tipping right now. The real question isn't whether the world is ending. It's whether the next layer we transition into will actually preserve our humanity, or if it's just going to use us as raw material. It's a pretty chilling thought, but an absolutely vital question to ponder as we figure out what kind of systems we want to build next. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this helps you process the massive shifts happening all around us today.